Suite Italienne is the first full-scale composition by Stravinsky to be included in the double bass repertoire. This is a wonderful arrangement by Powell. Brian's arrangement is published through Boosey and Hawkes, and we are actually offering it in our sheet music store, link in the description below. So you're going to hear from Brian about the piece, hear Brian play the piece, I'll play the piece, and show you some of my thoughts and some of the cool things about this. Really hope you enjoy it.
I went to a chamber concert and I watched a cellist perform this piece, and I never heard it before. And, you know, I mean, I appreciate performances from time to time, but I was just really jazzed about this piece. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to play this on the bass. And so I go back to school, and my teacher's Larry Hurst, and I check out the cello part, and I said, I'm going to learn this piece. He's like, great, let's do it. And as soon as I dove in, I was like, I don't think I've got the chops to play this piece right now. So, you know, I sort of tabled it, but I was like, man, I would really love to learn it someday.
It actually makes a lot of sense to add this piece to the double bass repertoire. The double bass has such a prominent role in Pulcinella, the suite from which this is derived. This is such fun neoclassical period music to play from Stravinsky, some of my favorite music of his. And this starts off in just a wonderful register on the bass and something that you can really sink your teeth into. Reminds me of playing the Von Hall Concerto or something like that, and it's such a resonant key on the bass, getting this G major going. It's just really, really fun.
Fast forward 10 years later, I had graduated. I was in New World for a few years, and then I decided to go back to school for my doctorate. Studied with Al Laszlo in Cincinnati, and you have to have a doctoral project. And I was like, you know, I think I might be able to pull this off.
This serenata, the second movement, that's got this haunting quality that I really find compelling.
I started researching the pieces, the background of it, and I really tried to study his arrangement techniques. So there's so much Pulcinella music out there. Like he did the ballet music in 1920. He did an orchestra suite in 22. 25, he did a first attempt with violin, and it didn't go over very well. It was kind of awkward. He didn't give up on it. A few years later, he was touring with a Polish violinist named Samuel Dushkin, and they tried it again, and he was like, oh yeah, I remembered why I'm not playing this piece anymore. So, so he said, let's go and let's rework it again. And so, so he starts trying to change up the existing writing that he did. And Gregor Pedagorsky was like, hey, why don't you make a cello version, you know, and give me a lot of the melody, you know, let's not do so much sharing. Let's let the cello feature. So there was all this repertoire. And so I studied how he arranged it. And in my doctoral essay, I came up with about 11 arrangement techniques that Stravinsky used.
This aria is a blast, and the way it fits in with the piano is super fun. Getting these pizzas going, and then...
What I tried to do is like go back into history and pretend like, okay, there's Samuel Dushkin, Gregor Pedagorsky, and Brian Powell. And hey, I want a bass version. And so he let those guys pick the pieces of Pulcinella that they wanted. Well, neither of them had the vivo, which every bass player knows what that piece is. So I thought, you know, since we're so into Pulcinella already because of that piece, that should be part of our suite. So I did an orchestra reduction of that.
Then, of course, the famous vivo that we bass players that have studied orchestra music have learned for so many auditions. To be able to do it with this piano reduction, how cool, and do it for a recital instead of just playing the bass part for yourself, preparing for an audition and kind of imagining the orchestra. It's great.
I realized if I was going to publish it, I had to go through Boosey and Hawkes because they own all the rights to Stravinsky's music. So my heart sank a little bit there because I wasn't really optimistic that they were going to take it on, but I went ahead and filed an application, and they took about 7 years to get back to me. And the delay in that was they had to go through Stravinsky's estate to do it. But eventually they came out of the blue and said, hey, yes, we're going to publish your arrangement. And they were already having a Stravinsky fest. They had other projects. I think they were doing a viola suite Italienne with Kim Kashkashian. So they completed the circle. There's now a version of this for all 4 string instruments. And so this is our bass version.
So the entire suite includes 8 complete movements, and they're all the exact same number of measures as the violin and cello versions.
I really am drawn to early 20th century composers like Stravinsky and Shostakovich. When I hear them, in orchestra performances, I'm just blown away by the way that they write. And I was just like, well, wouldn't it be really cool if we had a really well-written piece by a major composer in our repertoire? And so that's been the impetus for trying to get this project together, is just have something by a really we have Hindemith, but it'd be great to have someone like Stravinsky as well.
I love this Gavotten variation. The first time Brian indicates on the G string. Second time on the D string. And you can do all sorts of different fingerings and utilizing this A harmonic if you don't want to shift, and just really lovely, delicate, but really enjoyable music to play on the bass. Scherzino is a whole lot of fun. And the double stops are, again, very fun and no big deal once you figure out where they sit on the bass. I mean, come on, again, resonance. Each one of these movements really gets your bass ringing, and the combination of that with the piano just makes for such a pleasurable sonic experience to listen to and physical experience on the bass. And we get this great minuetto and finale, and anybody familiar with Pulcinella Suite will just really enjoy this. Such a wonderful opportunity to work on your tone and just play, of course, these wonderful melodies that we so infrequently get to play as bass players. It's just really musically satisfying. The entire suite is quite an experience to listen to and play through, but of course you can take one movement and work on that, and certain movements are more suited to people earlier in their double bass journey, while others have certain challenges and double stops and all kinds of cool techniques like that. So even if you just started playing bass, you can pick up this suite and get started playing the music of Stravinsky. And how cool to be able to experience this wonderful composer and his music on the double bass. We've been wanting something like this for such a long time. And if you enjoyed this video, check out what we've got linked up. We'll see you there.